He's 44 years old. He's still racing, still fighting, and still one of the greatest drivers in Formula One history. To put that into context, the last driver to race in a Grand Prix older than Fernando Alonso was Graham Hill. He finished his career in 1975 after more than 419 Grand Prix starts, which is also a record. Alonso himself has only 2 world titles, 2005 and 2006. That seems to bother him a little, and it certainly bothers his fans. During this year's Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, Fernando said he considers himself the unluckiest driver in the world.
Gonna be a torture, but it's the luckiest driver in the world.
Let's break that down. Is that really true? And did Fernando actually meet Taylor Swift? Fernando was born in 1981, started karting at 3, and by 14, thanks to wins across various championships, he was one of Europe's most promising karters. That was followed by a victory in the Nissan-backed Euro Open, where Alonso won 6 of 15 races. By December 1999, he had his first tests in a Formula One car with Minardi. In 2001, he made his F1 debut, not yet 20 years old. Although Minardi didn't have a car that could win races or even score points reliably, Fernando shone, outperforming his teammates significantly. Now we come to one of the key decisions in the Spaniard's career. Instead of staying another year at the totally uncompetitive Minardi, he accepted Flavio Briatore's offer to be a test reserve driver at a far more competitive team, Renault. Luck was on Alonso's side. After a year on the sidelines, in 2003 he became a race driver and won his first Grand Prix. He finished the season 6th overall. The following year, Alonso ended 4th. A win in that particular season still eluded him until 2005. In 2005, Fernando Alonso and Renault ended Michael Schumacher's long era of dominance. From that moment, the Red Baron would never win another title. Alonso became the youngest world champion at that time. He repeated the feat the next year. But this is not a fairy tale or a Hollywood script. After his second title, Fernando made a string of decisions that meant 2006 would be his last championship year. He switched teams, moving to McLaren, a team that, since 1998, had only once fallen outside the top 3. 2007 turned into a disaster. On top of extremely tense relations with his new rookie teammate Lewis Hamilton, McLaren was dragged into the Spygate scandal. A former Ferrari employee, Nigel Stepney, allegedly passed technical documents to McLaren's chief designer Mike Coughlin. Detailed Ferrari drawings, aerodynamic balance data, brake details, even race tactics and tire compound information. McLaren were effectively given a mountain of confidential data. The result was dramatic. McLaren were excluded from the 2007 Constructors' Championship and fined $100 million. Alonso himself contributed to the case by providing incriminating correspondence. In 2007, Hamilton and Alonso finished level on 109 points each, narrowly losing the title to Kimi Räikkönen, who scored 110 and became world champion. Fernando couldn't bear the situation and accepted Flavio Briatore's offer to return to Renault. Renault had dropped to roughly 3rd-4th in competitiveness during Fernando's absence. But Alonso knew the team and the people. He thought he could turn it around and start winning again. Instead came another scandal. Crashgate, one of modern F1's most serious incidents. In qualifying at the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix, Alonso's car had a problem, leaving him to start from the back. In those days, after a safety car period, the pit lane was briefly closed, which compresses gaps. Renault decided to exploit that. They called Alonso into the pits and 2 laps later ordered his teammate Nelson Piquet Jr. to crash deliberately to bring out the safety car. The gaps closed, and when the pit lane reopened, everyone stopped except Alonso, who had stopped earlier. On that same stop, Felipe Massa of Ferrari suffered a fuel hose problem, losing more time. Massa later claimed the lost points cost him the title. To this day, he disputes the matter with the FIA. As a result of the revelations, Renault faced sanctions. The team was handed life bans which were suspended for 2 years, meaning if Renault committed no similar offense in those 2 years, the life bans would not be enforced. Team principal Flavio Briatore also received a lifetime ban. later overturned on appeal in some aspects. The episode left a deep mark. After this period, Alonso returned to Renault. That stint produced mixed results. In 2011, Carlos Sainz, Sr., joined the team. However, that did not fix Ferrari's ongoing problems. For the driver, the only option was to endure and keep trying to produce results. He finished the season 7th rather than 8th, a modest but tangible improvement. Then came 2022. Ferrari finally produced a competitive car. Alonso started the season strongly with a win in Bahrain and then victory in Australia. More often than not, Charles. Here the text mixes names, but context suggests Leclerc's either started from pole or finished second to Max Verstappen. After 5 races, Lando, again names mixed in original, led the championship with 104 points. The Dutch bulldozer had 85. Everything looked perfect until Ferrari woke from its winter sleep in Spain. Leading the race on lap 27 from pole, Leclerc suddenly started to lose power, and this time it was terminal. The footage is shocking. Sensitive viewers might prefer to look away. After the retirement, the Dutch driver led with 110 points, while Leclerc remained on 104. Next came the Monaco home race, where Leclerc historically had no luck. Tire puncture on lap 19, and the 2020 race was cancelled due to COVID. In 2021, Leclerc took pole, but had gearbox problems on the start. It was all according to Ferrari's well-worn master plan. In 2022, while Perez and Sainz were busy arguing about who is the drift king, Leclerc qualified on pole and, more importantly, started the race without technical problems and kept the lead. What followed would split his career into before and after. Heavy rain forced everyone on wet tires. As the circuit dried, the crafty Mexican Perez pitted to undercut rivals, and it worked. Leclerc came out behind Perez, then was shuffled back to P4 a few laps later. A tactical masterclass by the Scuderia that turned into a nightmare for Leclerc. The gap in the championship opened further, but Leclerc still kept fighting and then claimed his 6th pole in the next race in Baku. Ferrari's strategic choices continued to complicate things. On lap 8, a hydraulic failure forced a Ferrari to retire. Luckily, that was Carlos Sainz, leaving Leclerc a shot at the podium. Leclerc scored P5 in Canada and P4 in Britain. After a win in Austria, he narrowed the deficit, but Verstappen had by then built a comfortable lead. The French Grand Prix delivered another pole for Leclerc. But on lap 18, he retired again and Verstappen won. From that point, Leclerc's championship hopes were effectively gone. Leclerc realized that even staying on track wouldn't have saved him from Ferrari's bridge strategy clowns. In the same race, the team called Sainz in while he was overtaking a Red Bull, a bizarre tactical radio call, and then pulled him back a lap later. The final blow came in Hungary. Rumor goes that race control told teams not to use the hard tire because it wouldn't have pace. Several teams tried hards in FP2, FP3 and were slow. Alpine tried hards in F1 and couldn't find pace. But Ferrari put Leclerc on hards. Verstappen was so surprised that after passing Leclerc, he did a 306-degree check. At the end, Russell and Verstappen laughed in the paddock while Hamilton was stunned by Ferrari's strategy. 2022 was arguably Leclerc's best season. Yet the Scuderia alone deprived him of the title. He finished second. In the next 2 seasons, there was no hint of another title fight. In 2023, Leclerc scored no wins. In 2024, he finally won in Monaco and triumphed at Monza, but it still wasn't enough. His final standing that year was 3rd. Leading into the current season, Ferrari built hype with countless photo shoots and carefully cultivated aura. All to see Leclerc and Hamilton start the opening Grand Prix on familiar white-walled tires and finish 9th and 10th from a double podium. Leclerc even changed his race engineer from Xavi to the new Brian Bottas, hoping for a fresh start. But Ferrari isn't easily fooled. The rookie needed half a race to become famous with a single phrase. Meanwhile, Hamilton was saddled with an even more bewildered teammate named Riccardo Ademi. This part in original is jumbled. The whole thing sometimes feels like the Truman Show. In the recent Singapore race, Ferrari applied its liquid strategy again. this time by effectively taking the brakes away from their drivers, forcing them to rely on engine braking. Leclerc didn't even know which brakes had failed. The team informed him only half a race later. Even his grandfather would be stunned by this news. What happened that weekend to Leclerc? He went through all the stages of grief in Ferrari. 2019-2021 denial. 2022 anger, depression, and bargaining. 2023-2024. A slow, weary resignation. And finally, acceptance in 2025. Look at his reactions after the races this season. Early in his career, he internalized every defeat and took it to heart. After Ferrari therapy, his emotions have flattened. He believes nothing and expects nothing. Media reports claim internal fights are raging within the team, and the position of the team principal is in question. If Leclerc is not given a competitive car, he may leave the team in 2027. It's long overdue, in my view. Right now, we see Piastri dominating, Russell having one of his best seasons, Verstappen fighting for points, Lando Norris, or Landon Yours, as the original jokingly rendered, and Leclerc not taken seriously. To me, he looks like a powerful anime character weighed down, unable to compete on equal terms. But you understand, his career is being broken. If he moves to a normal team and is given any tire set except the hard, he'd wreak havoc. He'd tear the field apart. After nearly 7 years at Ferrari, Charles Leclerc has officially become the driver with the most damaged psyche in the sport's history. The big question remains: can he recover and finally become a champion, or will he forever remain an under-realized talent? However, this decision was later overturned by a court. Alonso himself was unaware of these manipulations, which is why no sanctions were imposed on him. While attempts were made to artificially improve Fernando's results, Lewis Hamilton became the 2008 world champion with McLaren. Hamilton back in position again. This, along with the sharp decline in the team's performance, led Fernando to finish the 2009 season only 9th in the driver standings. That forced him to make the next key decision: a move to Scuderia Ferrari. Today, this may sound ironic, but around 15 years ago, Ferrari was a genuinely competitive team and even managed to win the Constructors' Championships in 2007 and 2008.
I know that I'm at the end of it, and there is a new life, in few years' time for me without driving. And when I will look back to my career, I will see a lot of good things and good friendships and incredible experiences. But it's like, I should have enjoyed more. And if I had the opportunity to live my exact life once more, maybe I don't change anything on my teams or my choices or this Ferrari maybe title or whatever. I will just change to live a little bit more all those moments and try to have more memories from those moments. I won the championship in Brazil 2005 and 6, and I hardly remember anything from those afternoons and nights, which is sad, So these are the kind of things that I will change.
But as you can probably tell from my tone, the miracle did not happen. Those who have followed Formula One for a long time know that the early 2010s were dominated by Sebastian Vettel and Red Bull. Still, Fernando came incredibly close to the title. In 2010, he led the championship heading into the final race in Abu Dhabi. During the Grand Prix, however, he was called into the pits too early and got stuck behind the slower Vitaly Petrov. The title went to the young Sebastian Vettel. Music. In the end, Alonso finished as vice champion, just 4 points short. Hard to believe, but 2 years later, he once again finished second. This time, only 3 points behind. In 2014, the era of Mercedes dominance began. For the next 7 years, no team could truly challenge the Silver Arrows. Alonso's contract was mutually terminated at the end of the 2014 season. In 5 seasons with Ferrari, he secured 11 victories and finished as vice world champion 3 times. But never fulfilled the dream of millions of tifosi to see him win a title with the Scuderia. What do you think Fernando's next move was? He returned to McLaren. The reason was that in 2015, McLaren switched to Honda engines. This partnership had been extremely successful in the past. With Honda power, the team won 4 consecutive Constructors' Championships from 1988 to 1991. Ironically, the engines became the weakest link of the car. Music joined applause. Over 4 seasons, the best Fernando could achieve was 10th place in the driver's standings. This period turned out to be the most unsuccessful in McLaren's entire history. After the 2018 season, Fernando took a break from Formula One. After such an incredible run of misfortune, one might expect him to step away from racing altogether, but Alonso did not see it that way. Instead, he set his sights on the unofficial Triple Crown of motorsport. To achieve it, one must win the Monaco Grand Prix in Formula One, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and the Indianapolis 500, and what do you know? He had already won the Monaco Grand Prix twice, in 2006 and 2007. In 2018 and 2019, he won the 24 Hours of Le Mans twice in a row. Only the Indianapolis 500 has remained unconquered so far. In addition, Fernando competed in the Dakar Rally, won the 24 Hours of Daytona, and became World Endurance Champion in 2018. After fully exploring other racing series, the Spaniard returned to the pinnacle of motorsport. In 2021, he began racing for Alpine, a team that had been called Renault just a year earlier. Yes, history repeating itself. Either Fernando believed that the rebranding would erase all past problems, or it was simply the only reasonable option at the time. At least initially, things were not so bad. In the 2021 season, Alonso stood on the podium once and finished the year 10th overall. In 2022, problems struck again, this time related to the car's reliability. As a result, Fernando lost out to his teammate Esteban Ocon and finished 9th at the end of the season. And of course, another scandal followed. Fernando announced that he would leave Alpine in 2023 to join Aston Martin. The reasons were straightforward. Alpine did not want to offer the Spaniard a long-term contract, while Aston Martin did, and also promised him the role of undisputed team leader. Where is the scandal, you might ask? Alpine were so eager to promote Oscar Piastri from their junior program that they even released a press statement without the driver's approval. Piastri immediately responded, stating that he would not be racing for Alpine in 2023. As it later emerged, he would join McLaren instead. Of course, this did not directly involve Fernando, but it highlights an interesting pattern. Almost every team Alonso has raced for has been embroiled in some kind of scandal. McLaren with Spygate, Renault with Crashgate, Alpine with Oscar Piastri. Only Ferrari emerged relatively unscathed if we exclude the engine situation in 2019. Returning to Fernando Alonso at Aston Martin, the 2023 season was simply fantastic for both the Spaniard and his fans. After a string of setbacks, he finished an incredible 4th in the championship, his best result since his Ferrari Vice Championships. Ahead of him were only the 2 Red Bulls and Lewis Hamilton, who were in a completely different league. It seemed that luck had finally smiled on Fernando and that he finally had a car worthy of his skills. But as you might expect, Aston Martin began to fade in the following seasons. Alonso finished 2024 only 9th, and in the current season he has dropped out of the top 10 altogether. Despite this, Fernando and Aston Martin extended their contract until 2026, which according to the Spaniard could be the final year of his racing career. I know that the 2026 season is my last chance. If the Aston Martin is not competitive, I might stay for one more year to end my career on a positive note. If the car is fast, I will most likely retire at the end of the season. There is nothing to add to that. Such major regulation changes are effectively the only opportunity for weaker teams to make a breakthrough and fight for the top. Especially with legendary engineer Adrian Newey working extensively on the Aston Martin car. What conclusion can we draw? Fernando Alonso is a true motorsport legend. With his incredible determination, hunger for victory, and outstanding skills, he has won the hearts of millions of fans. A short video cannot fully convey what this Spaniard is capable of. But trust me, watching any season with his participation will impress you. One can say that Fernando was unlucky with teams. Yes, he was. But who wasn't? Since 2010, only 3 teams have truly dominated, and Fernando either could not realistically join them or simply chose not to. Losing the title by 4 points in 2010 is undeniably tragic, and no matter how much fans may hope for it, a 3rd Formula One title is most likely out of reach. Yet even without that title, Alonso has shown time and again what he is worth. Very few drivers can boast a world championship, let alone 2 victories at the legendary Le Mans and successful stints in other prestigious racing series. Finally, a slightly melancholic video in which Fernando says that if he could do it all again, he would change nothing. He would simply try to enjoy the positive moments a little more. Fernando Alonso, a man who never gives up. And now for the most interesting part. Is it true that Fernando Alonso dated Taylor Swift? A few years ago, such rumors circulated. The Spaniard never directly denied them and instead played along with the audience. Therefore, there is neither confirmation nor denial of a relationship with Taylor Swift. Do with this information what you will. Subscribe to the channel and let's have an interesting discussion in the comments. Thank you for supporting my content.